What's going on YouTube? JT is reporting here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Superman issue number 25, Milestone, 25th issue. You can see all the stuff on there. Look at that, Perry White wins, Silver Banshee and Jimmy Olsen. There's been a lot of romantic elements within the pages of this book. Superman and Lois, Jimmy and Silver Banshee, Lex Luthor and Mercy Graves, and like any other random thing they can kind of throw together in the pages of it. So, but I have really enjoyed myself reading Joshua Williams' Superman. I think the artwork's been great. I think he's clearly been having a lot of fun on the title. So, yeah, so this issue and the last issue we saw Mercy Graves betray everyone because, you know, at some point Lex Luthor is just going to kind of become bad. But I guess the thing is, like, a lot of that stuff was planned for him to kind of go through and, like, gain Superman's trust and ultimately kind of enact his revenge, yada yada. You get that sort of thing. However, one thing he didn't perceive really happening is himself actually, like, you come to find out he actually did kind of turn good in this thing, like, at least more on the heroic side as opposed to kind of the villains. Like, he actually did, like, change, and he didn't also foresee some of the stuff that the whole like House of Brainiac thing like was going to happen too, and Mercy was there to kind of keep him. And like, it kind of makes me think a little bit of you ever see the movie Total Recall, where you have like Arnold who goes to the recall place and kind of gets his memory messed with, and like some say he was kind of a villain, but then he kind of changed the side to the heroes, and you're kind of left like wondering, is he really or is he not? But ultimately he tries to be like the more heroic side and all that too. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting with in some of this. Again, it's still like very different stuff in some ways, but just the idea of like you were maybe a villain at one point, but you actually like perhaps like switch to be good. So with all this, so again, it raises a lot of questions. Like it's kind of intriguing there, but we actually have several artists on this book, and the artwork is spectacular in this issue. I mean, it's nice to see Jamal Campbell back on this thing. I always love Jamal Campbell's work. Eddie Burrows, Eber Ferreira, and of course Dan Moore on this thing as well. You know, Dan Moore is like one of, if not the best artists at DC. And just having that and Jamal Campbell in the same issue, like there's so much like powerful art within the pages of this thing. So they unleash the Lex Luthor like robot, which I wonder if Mercy's doing anything with that. They call it XL, which is just super strength, super powered, and has kryptonites kind of ingrained within it. And Mercy's there, and he goes toe-to-toe with Superman and all that. We see flashbacks to before where Lex is kind of hugging and holding Mercy and all that stuff. It's like, we can just leave Metropolis forever, and I guess that's kind of the more tragic elements of it all. But the real Lex Luthor is still locked away somewhere, and he kind of didn't want to use XL because it wasn't quite ready yet. Like, it still needs a lot of modifications and all that. But we see that there, like he's going toe-to-toe with Superman and Lois. Marilyn Moon Knight comes in to rescue the real Lex to kind of fight this android version, and like he goes toe-to-toe with him, but it's just kind of like a really tough thing. And my god, the artwork in this thing looks great. Like, I mean, just like pages upon pages just look spectacular. We also see that this android Lex, or XL, or I guess they're calling him, has elements of like Bizarro ingrained into it while he was being created, so you can see that in there too. And eventually, like I said, Lois and Superman do their thing. Lois gives like one super like energy blast thing to kind of take him down, and it almost kind of works, but then Lex Luthor decides to just kind of blow its head off, and Superman snaps at him like, Luthor, what did you do? He's like, that was the right thing. It endangered everybody, and if I didn't do that, make the hard decision, we would all like be dead. And so it's kind of like one of those situations where Superman's like, you still took a life, and I'm not going to tolerate anything like that. You're going back to jail, basically. And then we come to find out that Lois has indeed lost her powers. So the thing about Lois gaining powers, it's fun for a little while, but you don't really want it like forever. I think that's, you know, that's how Superman and Lois originally met each other. Like, of course, Superman's just, you know, Clark Kent, Superman and all that. But Lois is interesting because she doesn't have powers. Like, she goes into these situations, these very dangerous situations, like very willingly, and she puts her life on the line without powers, and it's fun to see her with them for a little bit. Maybe you could have used a couple more issues. Like, it's fun seeing her as Superwoman, but it's not something you want permanent, because like I said, part of that distinction of like humanity versus like having these Kryptonian abilities is like, that's the person Clark fell in love with, like just normal human Lois Lane. And it'll be nice to see her back to kind of herself again, but it was fun to see her with powers just for a little bit. It reminds me of when Damian got powers in, what is it, the New 52, and they kind of way over time, but it is kind of like a fun little moment to see characters kind of gain powers, even if it is temporarily. You know, it's not going to be long-term permanent, just to kind of see what they can do with them. So, and that was kind of the same case with Lois Lane. So this was a pretty solid issue overall. I think Lex Luthor is going to do some shady stuff, even like as this run began. I think I probably said something along the lines of it. The betrayal in some ways is coming, but I guess the neat twist is like this Lex actually did kind of change for the better before, of course, the whole thing where he takes down XL and Superman is just going to have to just throw him like in jail for taking a life. I don't know if like because this got human, like that's weird because it's like a robot. Is it not? Like, is there real sentience or true life to it? You don't exactly know 100%, but Superman saw a life taken, and that's enough for him to just kind of throw the book at Lex. And Mercy's going to go into, I'm sure, for her crimes and all that. So, yep, Lex Luthor is going to eventually just kind of be pushed back into like the status quo once more. But I did think it was kind of interesting to see him like genuinely actually try to change. But of course, there's always going to be that tragic element to it all. But now that Lois has lost her powers, there's actual consequences from this thing. Still wondering about that whole like Silver Banshee thing when she's going to cross paths with her. Also, Marilyn Moon Knight was in this thing too. Like she was in there earlier on in the run. So, and like I said, the artwork in this thing is pretty spectacular. Now that we're kind of going to this thing, I think we got the whole Summer of Superman thing coming up. I think there's gonna be some other issues crossing over event wise. I gotta feel like I gotta catch up on some comic books. Like I really need to sit down and just like really take some time and read. I feel like this past month in particular has just not been like my best in terms of like reading. Like I feel like I'm like falling behind on kind of everything anymore. But hopefully, like I said, now that we're kind of through it, like I can get back into the swing of things. We're heading into summertime, and I'm pretty excited about that. So there you go. Those are my quick thoughts on Superman issue number 25, the milestone issue. This one's a little bit longer, so that's always fun. Spectacular looking artwork, and yeah, I enjoyed it overall. Like, is it my favorite issue in the run? I don't know, but definitely some cool stuff and actual consequences, and seeing that Lex actually did genuinely change was an interesting reveal too. But of course, there's going to be that tragic element. Like Lex Luthor is always just going to be the villain against Superman. He may team up from time to time, and that's kind of what makes him interesting, because you don't always know where his motivations lie 100%, because he's always kind of playing fiddle. But like seeing him actually like genuinely did change just for it to kind of like end in tragedy, I guess you got to have that emotional gut punch to kind of end the issue. So, yeah, there you go. But anyways, what did you think of the issue? Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit that bell for notifications, all that fun stuff. That's going to wrap it up. I'll be back this week with more DC comic book reviews, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, everyone.